We enter the part of the exhibition which we titled Attitude Towards the Sun. Throughout the 19th and the 20th century, our attitude to the sun was rather positive. People recognized health and hygiene benefits of the so-called heliotherapy, i.e. treatment using sunlight, and air therapy combined with sun therapy. Until 1930s, a very positive attitude towards the sun prevailed, and in extreme cases, people would put kerosene or petrol on their skin to absorb as much sun as possible. This attitude towards the sun includes the interest of the artists in our biggest star. We are standing in front of Wojciech Fangor's painting, separated from you by Kubota flip-flops. This painting is part of the Op Art series of the eminent Polish painter. Artists in the 1960s and 70s were fascinated by the sun, its rays, and conveyed their impressions from the observation of sunlight on canvas. Wojciech Fangor's painting is one of the examples of the artist's approach to the sun. Moving along the room, please note the cabinet with 3 black and white photographs. These are photos taken by Edward Hardwig and Władysław Brzozowski, showing how people relaxed in Warsaw at the Poniatówka beach, in swimming pools by the Vistula River, or at the Kozłowski Brother beach on the Praga side of the river. This is an example of the positive approach to sunlight. Now we know that this attitude and our interaction with the sun is rather harmful, and doctors discourage it. In the 1930s, up until the 1950s, it was believed that the sun has a positive effect on human health. Further along, we come to the next cabinet, displaying the conceptual work by Jan Chwałczyk, titled Colorful Spatial Composition of Light Transformation. In the 1960s and 70s, artists would also undertake scientific topics and attempt to define light or light modification using various apparatuses. In the case of Jan Chwałczyk, the artist applied the principles of conceptual art, i.e., he described his experiences or prototype devices for sunlight decomposition as typed pages, and here we have a very detailed description of the activities undertaken by Jan Chwałczyk. When you turn to the water bottles, you can see pieces from 1930s Warsaw press printed on them, in particular from Kurier Warszawski, which informs in great detail about what was the heat like in the city, as well as advertisements from the journal. For instance, an ad for the Nivea cream, which was used for sunbathing. It had no protective properties, quite the opposite. It was supposed to provide better absorption of sunlight. Or advertisements in the Jabłkowski's Brothers department store, ads for beachwear which were very common in the Warsaw press in the 1930s. Moving along the black wall, we come to 2 photographs by Aleksander Minorski. One features children from the Father Baudouin home during a meal, and the other, children playing in the playground on the Warsaw's Koło estate. Both photos present the positive attitude to the sun. Doctors suggested that even the youngest children should be subject to the so-called sunbathing. Today, with hindsight and knowledge about the harmful effects of UV rays, we know to protect ourselves from sunlight. Therefore, our attitude to the sun begins to change. The 1950s marked the beginning of research on the ozone hole, which in the 1980s has grown to a serious threat, and it is in the 1980s that sunscreen creams appear. But the first global fear of the climate warming comes around 2015, when the text of the Paris Agreements was announced. It was a document crucial for the entire world, which foresaw that an increase of temperature by 2 degrees will have catastrophic consequences for life on Earth. This knowledge was very quickly verified as well. In 2018, it was determined that not a 2-degree but a 1.5-degree increase of the global temperature will have tragic consequences. In our exhibition, we present a selection of magazine covers for opinion-forming weeklies which feature information on climate change. Interestingly enough, the first weeklies in Poland to devote an entire issue to the Paris Agreement and climate change were Polityka and Forum, that considered the topic to be important as early as 2015. We also display covers of Tygodnik Powszechny, Gazeta Polska, Newsweek, Do Rzeczy, that followed since 2018-19, with Wprost devoting an issue to climate change questions only in 2023. Thus, we reached a space which we titled When We Started to Fear, and it is that moment of signing the Paris Agreement by 195 countries of the world which launches a wide public and global debate on the catastrophic consequences of the warming climate. We also show something which could be considered an anomaly, although all data indicates that similar phenomena will occur repeatedly. On these display boards, you can see various examples of news coverage concerning January 1st, 2023, when the temperature in Poland reached 19 degrees Celsius, and we have headlines like "A beautiful start of a disaster," or "Blooming shrubbery" with the caption, "This is what the horsemen of the apocalypse look like." These phenomena slowly become the new norm, while what used to be something natural and normal for Warsaw, the Vistula River freezing over, becomes a mythical event far removed from reality. We are showing an 1838 painting, The Festival of Jordan in Warsaw, where you can see the frozen Vistula and people celebrating this important holiday in the Orthodox community. Frozen Vistula, like I said, is already an event in the distant past. But what we experience more often is Vistula drying up and white sandbars showing. Here, you are looking ahead at two photos by Tomasz Kaczor of Vistula with those vast sandbars. This is a naturally occurring phenomenon, but with changing temperatures and global warming, it is becoming more and more widespread and more common for the Vistula River. The level of water started to radically lower, which caused various artifacts to be fished from Vistula in 2015 to 2018. From historical elements of Warsaw stone masonry from the Saxon dynasty reign to more contemporary pieces like boat hook or a broken oar, which you can see ahead on the black wall.